So you're faced with a 1-year project timeline budget, and it's 1,800 hours. This is your first experience with Business Central, your first implementation project, period. And so the markers are there that will take this project a little bit longer, costs a little bit more. We have James from Abtrex with us here today. James, welcome to the show. But before we jump into it, everything I just said at the beginning kind of gets turned upside down. Cost half as much, took half as long, and where you are today is nothing short of amazing. And there's a golden nugget here with the use of Copilot for your go live launch. Wait till you hear how this was used at Abtrex. Stick around. James and Craig, good morning. How's everyone doing?
Not too bad.
James, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on here. And man, what really intrigued us is when we heard about your story, because let's face it, projects of this nature, and this is an ERP implementation, you get the quote from the partner and the timeline, and it's always kind of a backdoor chuckle, because these things tend to take longer, they tend to cost more, and here you are. This is your first project. You're a key player in this. Don't know Business Central, and there's other areas of the business that you just haven't had much exposure to. The recipe is here. It's going to take 1.5 times as long, might cost twice as much. Yet that was anything but your story. So help us rewind the clock. In fact, first let's hear a little bit more about you, what got you to Abtrex and your experience, and then we're going to jump into this topic.
So what got me into Abtrex was I was originally essentially a junior system administrator for another company in Elkhart. Unfortunately, that company already had a pre-designed IT team. They were overseas, they're an international company. So I really did not have room to grow, which, as you know, important in the IT field is room to grow is room to succeed. So once I kind of felt like I hit a stone wall, there was no other real positions to, side move to or move up to. I started looking around, and then I found like a technical specialist, I believe was the role name, or essentially IT manager for Abtrex. I applied, got interviewed by Craig and the rest of the IT team, and the rest is history as we know it as of now.
So, Craig, what were your thoughts of James during the interview process? Was he like one of 50? Was he, what made him stand out?
Well, he wasn't weird. You're weird a little bit, James, but in a good way, right? So, no, it was, we interviewed quite a bit of people, but James, he had came from the Purdue dev side, which is what we were kind of looking for, because we knew we could teach accounting and business, but dev we couldn't necessarily teach. I mean, you can, but it's going to be a longer road. So, and he had the common sense and the support side of things, and he had the infrastructure side. So his infrastructure and networking and dev skills were really what we were looking for. So we knew we could build the other ones, especially coming on a Business Central implementation, right? So so it was. Dev and AI, are really the key traits that we were looking for that somebody could take and run with. And we said, you know what, James, we had a few whiteboards and said, okay, what's this journey look like? What do you need to learn? How do we need to mentor you up? And it was around the business and the accounting. I remember we were sitting at a local wings place and talking about financial statements.
And this is important background because, again, we've done ERP journey episodes before, but this one really stood out because it had all the components of blowing the budget and the timeline, and you killed it. And so this is really good background. Essentially you were green coming in. Now you're clearly a go-getter, and there were traits there that were beneficial. Now talk us So how did you get exposed that this project was coming? Was it through Craig? Did any of the business stakeholders bring you into the conversation? How did that come about?
I think I was a part of the initial conversation because there was still the discussion of, how much is it going to cost to move to Business Central? What kind of time frame are we looking for? The real nitty gritty, yes and no binary kind of answer for it. I was part of that, but I was more on the sideline to answer and field any sort of technical questions as best as I could with the information I had at my disposal. Um, but it was more so from the CFO to our business owners of, we want to move in this direction and here's how we can do it.
That's good, right? Because change management's always tough. If you're not aligned across the board, that chink in the armor is going to be a problem on a project like this because people have their day jobs. This is not a 1 month project, so it's a big commitment. And so you need that uniform alignment and support. All right. So now your partner's been selected and you begin the process. And now, boom, you get the quote. It's, we're going to fast forward a little bit here. Call it 1,800 hours, approximately. And now, how was this? Was this initially received well by the leadership team? Was everybody accepting of that time estimate?
From what I, heard through the grapevine and, was part of the meetings for, there was such a level of excitement, but also the understanding that our current solution was not good enough. So we need to move to something new. We need to do it fast, but we need to do it right. So, there's kind of the triangle of, was it cheap, good, and fast? It was, we were making
constraints.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we were, we were leading towards fast and good. So we knew it wasn't going to be cheap. But then, with my involvement, we were able to lessen the blow to our wallet as much as we could. But it was one of those I heard from the owners of, it's like, okay, how fast can we, get this in? And the benefit of, bill by hour kind of deal. Any more work done internally is less cost to our wallet.
It just worked because James really rolled up his sleeves and learned a lot really fast. And that's what helped out. But, since it's based on actual hours, it was just neat how James was able to pull it off on the customization side. Because, Tony, you probably know this, some customization of reports could just burn hours, going back and forth. And also, James, the people side of things, you working with the people out in the plants and production, getting them engaged, being part of the direction and decision making was really helpful on the go live.
Maybe walk us through, Craig, if you were to break this out into chunks, what was your first 90-day approach and how did you tee James up to help achieve this successful project?
So I think, obviously you have the discovery phase and James is very involved in that since he hasn't been in one of these ever. So you were in every step, weren't you, James, on discovery, talking with everybody, understanding processes. So I think that was very helpful with him being new to the company. He knew what was going on, but when you talk about exactly, travelers and routing and, material and inventory, those are a lot of terms. Then you throw in inventory and bonds and inventory layering, then you get into the accounting side of things, right? So first 90 days was James' exposure to the whole process and making sure that we were getting a consultative approach, not this is what the system can do, understanding what your current process is, exploring options on what it could look like, and then landing the ship on, okay, we could adjust our processes because it's best for the system and it improved our processes. And some things we had to tweak and keep our old processes, which is standard. But that whole 90 days of vetting that out. And then we said, okay, here we go. And in the meantime, James is getting teed up for, okay, how do I even project manage? And then what do I need to have track from a customization standpoint? It was the typical stress up and downs, right, James?
Yeah.
I mean, you got a lot of people who are used to the system they had in place for many years, and habits are tough to crack. And here you are, you're leading the effort internally. I assume you were greenlit that this was your primary function, right?
Yes. Yep.
At any point did you think, listen, I'm in IT, I'm trying to lead this implementation project. I could give two shits about debits and credits, right? Did you go through that kind of phase, and then when did the light bulb go off how this could be used effectively, and all feeds this project that launched well in advance and half the cost?
Absolutely. I went through that kind of, I feel like anyone, especially if you're an IT based individual, because if you're familiar with software engineering or, networking, infrastructure, anything like that, and all of a sudden you're thrown into true blue business financial statement, like numbers, you're just like, why, I set up, Intune, I set up computers. What's all this?
Yeah,
What's all
right.
this gobbledygook?
Yeah,
Um, but then it's also it's definitely perspective shift into almost like a middling mental state or standpoint, in my opinion.
and we get asked this question a lot. What are some of the traits that, for those aspiring to be CIOs and just to help that career track? The answer centered around becoming more entrenched in the business, being more of a business person. Like the focus shifts away from IT, even though it's pinned underneath with IT, and so you got some exposure to that.
Understanding each user's process, how does it relate to business, and then how can that be improved upon by a ERP solution or a better ERP solution.
So you were the lead when it came to the process reviews with different departments.
If not the lead, I was very heavily involved.
Now, was there any code or setups accomplished at this point in time, or is this still part of the design review and preparation before the project, I would say, started to be zeros and ones and implementation?
For Business Central, no. Outside of Business Central, yes. There were some Power Automates cloud flows that I created at this standpoint in time. So a few of our users were familiar with kind of, a process optimization process and how an Office 365 environment can be used to assist with, this kind of data usage.
Tony, just thinking about what you just asked, there were a ton of turning points in growth this last year. James, I know it almost felt like you're faking it till you make it, right? The old adage, right? I mean, you're in this PM role that you don't know what that means, and we just kind of work through that. The whole owner concept, Tony, that we talked about, it's like you're the owner. That doesn't mean you have to do everything. You just got to be accountable to get it done. So he used common sense with his technical background, because without his technical background, he would have just took it for face value. If somebody said, hey, that doesn't work, they would implement it, right? But he challenged status quo. And that's what we have to do now with AI and everything. Just fact check, challenge common sense. And James, you did an awesome job. And then moving it right into the reporting, how you use some of your Adobe tools to simplify or streamline the reporting customizations were huge. So, I mean, you look at all those turning points, but again, the common sense, challenging status quo, knowing that what you don't know, but asking. And that we had, we'll get to the breaking point time, James, but it was a grind. But I told him, you knew wide open it was going to be a grind, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So we had to get on the other side of that.
All right, so now the design phase is over. You've had your process discussions. Everybody, there's a general understanding both for yourself, which is fantastic, and the partner to what the current Abtrex process is. Now, how do we fit in to the ERP system? I'm not a big shoehorn your process into a canned system. To me, it's a blend. You take the best of both. And you alluded to that, right? How do we take advantage of Business Central in this case, and the feature set it has, where perhaps it's a best practice or process optimization moment for the business to leverage ERP. But there's always something that makes Abtrex unique in the industry, and that may not be accommodated in any ERP system. So there's where your, hybrid pieces come in. But the real cost flex tends to be around reporting. So I'll just throw a question out there. Was that also the case for Abtrex?
The only report, I only did not do one report from instantiation, but I did go back and kind of modify it a little bit, and that was the job traveler, because I was doing all the QA, QC, and starting some Power BI reporting. So that one did get shifted over to our partner.
So the fact that you fielded most, I'll say all reports, is a huge time-saving effort, because partners do burn time when it comes to reports. And again, during that discovery process, they're being fed reports that are being used and information that they want to have, and everybody has their own twist on it. I can't have this information in column 5. What are you, nuts?
Mm-hmm.
I look left to right, and that has to be the second column, right? So all those little details take time, and you were able to internalize that. And another part that you burn time on is getting that detail. Well, I need this report. Okay, well, how do you want it to look? Well, back to my example of, this column needs to be moved over. The Abtrex logo, it's a little too big, and it's going to cut off where the name hits. All this back and forth, and you lose time, you lose hours, and you were able to internalize that. So kudos to you, because for anybody out there watching this, if you can internalize that reporting effort, you are going to save a tremendous amount of time. And I hear you mention Power BI, James, because reporting can't just be an island onto ERP, because there's a lot of ancillary systems that run a business. Well, they have their own data sets. Not everything's plugged into ERP. So the approach you took of having this outside of ERP data repository that you put a front end on, like Power BI, like Power Apps, man, I love everything I'm hearing. Future-proofing, you're internalizing the effort, you're saving time. Your employees are getting exactly what they want. I applaud what you've done. We've rounded third base. It's the waiting stage. Now, in projects like this is where the cost spigot just gets ratcheted up. You could be 50% under budget and then kiss that goodbye on the final 8-week sprint. Now, in terms of that, but that also comes with additional time pressures and stress. So Craig alluded to this earlier, and you, as did you, James, approached a breaking point. So I'd like to hear from both of you how that got mitigated, managed, and
so I'll tee it up a little bit, James, but I'll let you take it. So, we do monthly one-on-ones, usually go grab a beer or lunch or something. But there was, James, I felt your stress going, I knew it was going to ride here, but it was coming up to here. And we did I had him at the Granger office, and we came in to do a whiteboard. And James, I'll let you take it from there. I think you said something like, I think I'm done.
Yeah, it was essentially, there was a quote that probably my sister was sick of hearing was, I don't win, I just lose less, which was what I would say whenever like anything went bad with Business Central. Like, yep, I don't win, I just lose less sometimes. Like,
We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure. We've come too far. There's too much to lose. We've got to keep our composure.
But so there was definitely some frustrations regarding, because let alone doing a day job. As we alluded to previously, it was because I believe we were running into, because during Go Live, we also did an MSP change. We transferred our primary MSP to another company, so transferring all those credentials, the billing, our Azure virtual machines, etc. Which
You love a challenge, I sense.
I'm really good at that, it turns out, and overcoming said challenge though.
Yeah.
But it was, at that meeting, I had a very candid conversation with Craig, and we mapped it out because I felt like there was no light at the end of the tunnel. And if there was a light, it's a train that's about to run me over. Because I didn't see how it was going to get any better. Because I originally came into this career for, support, troubleshooting, helping people, and as well as working with cool tech. Um, so, but what Craig and I did on that whiteboard, which was very beneficial to me, was like showing how business process optimization, the ownership of it, and how it wouldn't be just me doing everything. The shift was no. The manager or whoever, there'll be a leader outside of yourself that's actually going to own this process. You just help them use technology to enhance this process. But it was knowing that that point was coming and possible that really kept me alive.
Yeah, the vision, because he was grinding hard. I mean, long days, ran 10, 12-hour days, James, plus, right? And he thought, okay, I'm going to just continue this into a business process thing. And I'm like, no, breathe. Then you work with the managers. Then you get to control timeline, rollout priorities, and transfer ownership, because the role that we want him to be in, and I think a lot of people in all IT roles need to shift to advisor and architect, because the department managers really need to own their process and adoption.
Helping to lower the temperature. Again, all the years of experience and hundreds of projects you did, James being talented and capable as you clearly are, but just being able to help have that that vent path. I mean, it gets lonely. You don't have that type of outside reinforcement or network. Craig, you say it best. You're a danger to yourself. James, using your words, I mean, you were at that point.
Architect and advisors are the new IT roles, in my opinion, because we can't own departmental processes. A lot of people will pull us in and tell us to fix it. And it's like, no, we can help advise you and tell you what tools to use, what technology is out there. But ultimately, we're not going to force adoption.
Okay, James, now go live date is established. We're ready to launch. How did that process go? Were people exhaling, or was there that go live? Aha, so walk us through or tell us how that launch went.
So launch itself went well. We had a very strong support team during go live. With thanks to our colleague in Poland, and time zone being what it is, we were able to field questions basically from morning into night, essentially from all of our facilities across the country. As our Texas division, bright and early, 6 a.m. on the dot. And if they encountered any issues, our colleague from Poland was in that Teams meeting that was held, Monday through Friday for 3 weeks, nonstop. We were all, anyone on the Go Live support team was on there, fielding and answering any questions as we could. And one aspect that we were also able to take advantage of is I got there's currently, as of we speak, a month-long trial that can be done for Copilot Studio. So after seeing Craig set up a work instructions agent, so we had a variety of work instructions created and put into a SharePoint Teams folder. After making an agent that was able to access that knowledge base, I made a Copilot agent that could be deployed to all users, that if they had any sort of questions, they were able to go into Teams, go into the message center, and message an agent, and that agent would reference the work instructions directly without needing any involvement from a support individual.
Cool concept. love the use of Copilot to help with the barrage of Q&A that comes. But employees still have to commit to it and use it and feel that it's useful. Did that happen?
I would say yes. Thanks to our marketing team, we had, all users, here's the way you can get support during go live, and that was, item number one was our work instructions agent. And I made sure to go around, the office where I'm located at, and be like, hey guys, just so you know, if you don't want to wait, in the queue for the, the help desk support, if you will, there's always the work instructions agent.
Yep.
So
yeah, you use the agent, we're going to fire your ass.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Get your ass and get your things and get out of here.
You're firing me?
I'm firing you.
No, it's great. So you're helping to educate and communicate that with your employees. This is a war room concept. We're launching, it's all hands on deck. We want to white glove the user experience because people are on edge. And there's always a subset of the population that didn't test as much as they said they did. Maybe didn't test at all. So now's day one. It's like, I can't access my page. I don't know what to do, and it's like, how do we get here? But all normal. And we're not judging folks, but that's part of go live. But why that war room exists are for situations like that. And inevitably you have some permissions that weren't quite set right, and people panic on, I can't remember how I do this, so I love the sense of calm you brought to the organization in the preparation. And man, do I love that Copilot story. Thank you for sharing it.
Absolutely.
Now that the dust has settled and being so close to the project and working with all these stakeholders, there may have been a point in time where just reflexively everything went to you. What's that world look like now? Has the brain's been rewired on how they tackle problems and issue tickets? Or are you still the go-to?
As people become more familiar with any system, it's like, oh, I know what this error means now. But a lot of it has kind of fielded more away from, everyone, we're all going to try it themselves. And then if something comes up, big and angry error message, then I'll get, hey, James, are you available kind of deal.
So thanks again for joining us today. I love stories like this. This is truly a success story. Your innovative approach to reporting, the use of Copilot to help folks be self-sufficient and get the information in the moment, and what you've been able to learn along the way. Again, getting that CIO track, you got to be a business-minded individual. That's supply chain, that's accounting, that's manufacturing operations, not just purely IT. And man, you did it. Can't wait to hear about your next chapter with Abtrex. Thanks again. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
We had some nice discussions, James, huh? You almost hit the break point once, right, James?
It was right near the end too, and it was one of those things of just.
All right, so hold that energy, hold those comments, because that's good shit right there. So, now it's Abtrex,
ABTrex.
Yeah, ABTrex. James from ABTrex.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so let me preamble this. Okay.
That if they had any sort of questions, they were able to go into Teams, go into the message center, and message an agent, and that agent would reference the work instructions directly without needing any involvement from a support individual.
Oh, holy shit. I love that. I might redo the intro now to throw that tickler in. I'm under